Everyone wants to talk about Lindsay Clancy's mental health. No one wants to talk about Cora, Dawson, and Callan, the three children who begged for their mother and got a killer instead. Lindsay Clancy is a monster. On January 24th of 2023, inside a quiet home in Duxbury, Massachusetts, an affluent coastal town where nothing like this ever happens, the police have now found their three children deceased. Cora Clancy is 5, Dawson Clancy was 3, and Callan Clancy was 8 months old. All three were strangled. Prosecutors say Lindsay used exercise bands from the basement. The medical examiner would later confirm this was not a momentary loss of control. This was sustained, deliberate pressure on three separate children, one after another. Her husband, Patrick Clancy, had left the house for less than an hour to pick up takeout to give his wife, who had been struggling, a break. When he returned, he found blood. He found his wife had thrown herself from a second-story window in a failed attempt to take her own life. And he found his children gone. In an interview with police and in court records, a picture was presented to the public. Lindsay Clancy was a labor and delivery nurse, a mother who documented her life on social media like everything was perfect. But behind that image, authorities said she was unraveling. She had a documented history of severe anxiety, depression, and postpartum depression after each child. After Callan was born, it got worse. She was prescribed a cocktail of medications, 12 different drugs in the months leading up to the murders. According to the defense, anti-anxiety meds, antidepressants, and mood stabilizers. Her defense team, led by Kevin Reddington, argued she descended into postpartum psychosis, that she was hearing a voice in her head telling her to take her children's life, that she was not criminally responsible, that she literally did not know right from wrong. And that is the narrative you will hear everywhere right now. The trial is happening as we speak, August 2026, and the defense has rested its case on that exact argument. But here's where we have to stop and tell the truth, because mental illness is real. Postpartum psychosis is real. And what I'm about to say is going to make some people uncomfortable. Mental health is not an excuse to take your children's lives. It is an explanation. It is never an excuse. And we have to stop confusing the two. What an evil act to take three innocent lives who trusted you completely. We can hold two truths at once. Truth one, Lindsay Clancy was clearly suffering. No healthy mother does what she did. No person in their right mind strangles a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and an 8-month-old baby. If she was psychotic, she needs psychiatric treatment for the rest of her life. We should have compassion for genuinely mental illness, and our systems fail to protect those children from a mother who is clearly crying out for help. Truth 2, suffering does not erase accountability. Pain does not give you permission to create pain for others. Think about it. If mental health excuses murder, where does it end? Every killer has trauma. Every killer has depression, anxiety, or psychosis on some level. If we say postpartum psychosis means you are not responsible for strangling 3 children, what do we tell the next mother who is depressed? What do we tell the families of victims? Cora, Dawson, and Callan did not have postpartum psychosis. They had a mother who was supposed to protect them. The law in Massachusetts understands this difference. To be found not guilty by reason of insanity, the defense must prove she lacked the substantial capacity to appreciate that what she was doing was wrong. Not that she was sad. Not that she was overwhelmed. Not that she was mentally ill. But that she did not know murder was wrong. And the prosecution's evidence says she knew exactly what she was doing. I follow the evidence on this channel. Each case examines police statements, interrogations, and court records because the truth matters more than the narrative. Authorities said the evidence tells a very different story from the psychosis defense. On day 14 of the trial, the Commonwealth rested after presenting digital forensic evidence from Lindsay's iPhone and Apple Watch. Assistant District Attorney Jennifer argued this was not a psychotic break, this was planned. Prosecutors pointed to searches on her phone in the days before the murders, searches about ways to kill. They pointed to notes she wrote. They pointed to the fact that she asked her husband to leave the house, which I would say is planned, to go pick up food and bring it back, to leave her alone with the children. She waited until he was gone. That's not psychosis. That's opportunity. They pointed to the Apple Watch data, showing her movements through the house from child to child. Not a blur of confusion, but a methodical path. And they called medical experts who testified that while Lindsay had mental health issues, she was not in a state of postpartum psychosis that would have robbed her of the knowledge that killing her children was wrong. One expert testified she had high anxiety and depression, but was still legally sane. The defense, meanwhile, called their own experts. They called her former mother-in-law to testify. They argued the medications themselves pushed her over the edge, that no mother who loved her children as much as Lindsay did would do this unless her mind was completely broken. New charges have been filed against her original charges. 3 counts of first-degree murder, 3 counts of strangulation, and assault and battery with a dangerous weapon. She has pleaded not guilty. Her attorneys concede she caused their deaths, but argue she is not criminal responsible. She absolutely is responsible for what happened to them. So who is right? Was this a broken mind or a calculated choice? The jury will have to decide if Lindsay Clancy deserves a hospital or if she deserves life in prison. Let me be direct with you. Cora Clancy was 5. She was old enough to know what was happening, to fight, to cry for her mother to stop. Dawson was 3. He was old enough to run, and she ran after him. Callum was 8 months old. He couldn't do anything. He couldn't fight. He couldn't speak. He just trusted his mother until his last breath. We talk so much about the mother's mental health, and we should talk about maternal mental health in this country. It is a crisis, but we cannot do it by erasing the victims. Mental health resources should have saved Lindsay Clancy before she killed. Therapy, hospitalization, medication management. Her husband Patrick begged for help in the weeks before. According to messages shown in court, he knew she was not okay. The system should have intervened. Too bad he didn't take the kids and leave to keep them safe. But once you choose to wrap an exercise band around your child's neck and squeeze until they stop breathing 3 times, you have crossed a line that mental health cannot uncross for you. You deserve treatment and also deserve the consequences. When an evil act to take 3 infants' lives, she deserves to be held accountable. But more than likely, if the insanity defense prevails, she will be sent to a psychiatric hospital and not a prison. Whether you think that's justice or not, never forget their names: Cora, Dawson, and Callan.